Final round of 2013 took the cruise to the scenic tropical coast town of KILIFI. With its beautiful white sandy beaches and large inland creek, there could be no better place for the finale of what has been a memorable season. Moving away from its more traditional base around Vipingo, this year's event will take the cruise inland north towards Malindi and Mwangea Hills. Less than 40 crews will make the long journey from upcountry on what is the most expensive round of the championship, and with the main championship title decided, several top crews including Carl Tundo and Azar Anwar opted to sit this one out. Newly crowned 2013 champion Baldev Chaga teamed up with Onkarai to use the event to test their Porsche 911 that they will be using in the upcoming East African Safari Classic. Alex Horsey was making a welcome return to the scene, having repaired the Evo 10 after testing accident and was starting fast on the road, a tough task on the team's home round. Ian Duncan was second away. A finish would secure him the runner-up spot in the championship in the absence of Tundo. Quentin Mitchell had repaired the N16 after an engine fire put him out of the Guru Nanak Rally in Tanzania 2 weeks previously, and in the absence of some of the top crews, he was hoping for a podium finish. The crews would head inland straight away with a short 6-kilometer section following the KILIFI Creek before the longest stage of the day, a 30-kilometer run from Ganze to Vitengeni, dubbed the Malomani stage. A short 500-meter spectator stage was followed by service before the crews tackled a very fast run around the Mwangea Hills. The fifth stage was a more technical twisty stage with plenty of jumps and tight corners. Stage 6 was the fastest stage of the event. Crews could be expected to exceed 200 kilometers per hour on the long straights and would have to drive to the limit to avoid losing time. The morning stages were repeated before the crews returned to KILIFI for a short spectator stage in the town, which will be more of a formality than provide any real action. Quentin Mitchell went fastest on the opening stage, 5 seconds faster than Duncan, before dropping 19 seconds on the long Malomani section. He will arrive at the first service in a strong second overall position.
You know, ever since we had the problem in Arusha, the car's not been quite the same. We need to do some work on it for next year, but the main thing is we're here and we're having fun, and we had a fairly good run on both stages. So.
Right. We pick up the action on stage 4, the first 22-kilometer loop around the Mwangea Hills. Duncan set the fastest time, 11 seconds faster than Mitchell, to increase his lead to 22 seconds. He was in cruise mode, missing the challenge from rivals Tundo and Chaga. Quentin Mitchell was pushing the N16 to the limit, trying to match the times Duncan was setting and steadily increasing the gap to Chate behind. Jashi Chate had started the event calmly, adjusting his pace notes to match the high-speed stages for the second round. He was third fastest to overhaul Rajbir Rai. Frank Tundo was driving Carl Tundo's Evo 9 on the event and set the 4th fastest time to move up to 7th overall after a slow start. Hardeep Resi was on the limit in the Evo 9 and set an identical time to Tundo. He closed the gap to Tundo to just 3 seconds, determined to push for a top 5 position on the season's finale. Issa Amwari was next, only a further second behind, and stayed ahead of Tundo to remain 6th. Rajbir Rai had been as high as 3rd overall, but 7th fastest meant he dropped behind Chate and now trailed the Kibos driver by 41 seconds. Jasmeet Chana was also enjoying the smooth fast stages, which were in stark contrast to the previous event. He was 8th fastest on this stage and held on to 9th overall. Alex Horsey was fuming after a timing error by the controllers earlier in the morning had cost him several positions and had still not been resolved. He was being cautious as he opened the road and went 9th fastest. Izar Mirza set his fastest time on the short super special, but was only 10th fastest on this stage. He was only 5 seconds behind Rai in the fight for the 4th overall, another coast boy enjoying his home event. Baldev Chaga was getting a feel for the rear wheel, non-turbocharged classic Porsche, and was having to adapt his driving style to handle the power. He still managed the 11th fastest time and rounded out the top 10 to lead the classic class.
So far, just 2 stages. Steep learning curve, going back to basics really, going back to driving rear wheel. It's quite aggressive. You have to really be soft with the car. There's no fighting with this, and so trying to build a rhythm, build a bit of a pace, and Onkar is practicing his co-driving skills. I think later on in the day I will.
A key title battle remained for the SSPV Championship. Jaswinder Chana had a 40-point margin and was on course to retain his title, but still needed to finish to beat Alisdair Keith. He had a 6-minute advantage over his rival at this stage and could afford to take it easy. Keith had dropped time on the opening stages with a loose turbo pipe, and despite being faster than Chana on this stage, he was way down the order, and realistically, his title hopes were fading fast. Peter Horsey had been fastest in this class, but came into a corner too fast and went off, demolishing a small shack in the process. He damaged the radiator and was forced to retire.
It was going very well, and we just had a bad pace note. Yesterday I called it a particular corner, and it tightened a lot more than I expected. So we got there way too much, and I went for an escape road, and we hit a little duca. So unfortunately, we broke our radiator, and then that was it.
Adin Haq was lying third in the class in his home-built Range Rover Bowler. This time the stages were less suited to the car, being heavier and higher off the ground. Dennis Mwenda arrived in KILIFI as a newly crowned two-wheel drive champion and was having fun. Keen to end the season on a high after 2 retirements in a row, he was enjoying a close battle with Leonardo Verese. Verese went fastest on this stage and trailed Mwenda by just 13 seconds in the similar Toyota Sprinter. Charan Thethi was making a rare appearance in the Daewoo and was lying third in class at this stage. Rob Hellier went second fastest in the classic class, but mechanical woes earlier in the day meant he was way down the order. The classic class title was still up for grabs, defending champion Aslam Khan holding on to a narrow lead over Harder Sira, and was also using the event to test his Porsche for the Safari, only 3 weeks away. Hardev Sira was pushing the little Escort to the limit, having flown out from the UK to every event this season. He was lying second in class behind Chaga, but it wouldn't be enough to secure his maiden title. The crews had a short transport section before the start of the 5th stage. In contrast to the 4th stage, this one was more challenging. The tight corners and multiple jumps would keep the drivers sweating. Duncan was once again fastest, but only by 2 seconds. He extended his lead to 24 seconds, which was by no means comfortable. Quintin Mitchell kept the pressure on and was matching times with the leader. From the onboard, you can see what an unforgiving stage it was and what a great job navigators do reading notes in these conditions. Issa Amwari stepped up the pace, going third fastest to overhaul Resi and move up to 5th overall. The top 8 were embroiled in a seesaw battle for positions. Rajbir Rai went 4th fastest, closing the gap on Chate. Both drivers have steadily improved this season in the Evo 10s. Hardeep Resi was only a second slower than Rai. He overhauled Frank Tundo to move up to 7th, but was losing ground to Issa Amwari in the battle for 6th. Izar Mirza was carrying the coast flag ahead of the horses. He was a second slower than Resi, but only trailed Rai by 7 seconds in the battle for 4th. Jasmeet Chana was on good form, setting the 7th fastest time and moving ahead of Frank Tundo as he climbed up to 8th. Jassi Chathe was over 90 seconds behind Mitchell, but was comfortable in 3rd and backed off. Holding station with the 2 in front battled for the lead. He was 8th fastest on this stage. Baldev Chaga set an impressive time, going 9th quickest in the Porsche, 2 seconds slower than Chathe and beating Alex Horsey by 2 seconds to sit in an Evo 10 sandwich. Alex Horsey was struggling with his road position. The surface was sandy, so made little difference to the following cars, but he was unwilling to take any risks, dropping over a minute to Duncan in 11 kilometers. Frank Tundo fell back on this more technical stage. 27 seconds slower than Resi meant he lost 7th position, dropping back down to 9th overall. Farhaz Khan was driving steadily, 12th fastest on this stage and 12th overall in the N12. Alasdair Keith was still pushing hard in the old Impreza, once again going fastest, but his only hope of catching Chana was if the Toyota driver hit problems.
40 points is quite a lot, so unless Jassy has a problem, I think it's his. So for us, it's it's our first rally, so at the coast, so we want to finish our first coast rally. So that's the name of the game today, really.
After a close call on the opening stage in the morning, Jaswinda Chana was holding station, not taking any risks, knowing that Keith was a long way behind.
It's maximum concentration, even if you're slow. I mean, just coming out of this just 1 kilometer before the control of this last section. We hit a very small ditch and we took off, and boy, we were all over the road. I mean, I was in the bushes, off the road, back onto the road. Just goes to show you, even if you slow down, it doesn't mean that it's full. I mean, answering your question, it's maximum concentration.
Hussein Malik was third fastest, but with the demise of Peter Hose, he was now second in class, over a minute and a half behind Chana. Hardev Sira was pushing the Ford Mexico as hard as he could, getting the better of Aslam Khan on the stage, overhauling the Porsche driver to move up to third in class. Aslam Khan was suffering from cramps. The extreme heat was affecting the driver and he was forced to back off.
2-3 years ago I started getting cramps, and I've not got them for a long time, but they started today. Maybe it's the heat, maybe it's the sweat. Or I don't get them I haven't got them in the classic, but I simply get some time from time to time in the local rallies. I think it's a lot got to do with the heat and dehydration.
Dennis Wenda went fastest in the F2 class and now held a comfortable lead after Varese hit problems and dropped off the radar. Charan Thefi went second fastest, but was no match for Mwenda on this stage. Joanne Nesbitt went third fastest and was having a steady run in her Toyota, beating fellow lady driver Phyllis Wamboi by 14 seconds in the more powerful Impreza. The crews had a chance to return to Service Park for the second time. For most, it was routine, with little damage being done to the cars on the smooth stages. Duncan held a comfortable lead, but wasn't taking anything for granted, having been in a similar position on the previous event.
Controllers are a bit lost. I don't think anyone's trained them very well yet. Well, it's just a bit frustrating, and in the section, the transport times are too tight, so you don't have any time to get organised and get everything done properly, so it's
always a privilege to be able to battle against Ian. It's a man of that experience. It's great to be able to be, just a little bit behind him and sometimes fighting with him. It's a good feeling.
Other than a few corners here and there, which probably overgraded, you come in too fast. Yeah, it's going well. It's going well.
No, we're just doing a race. We're not even thinking about championship. Right. We can only do our best. Aslam is a very experienced driver, right, who's the current champion. So obviously, he's better, got a better chance. Yes. We can only do our best.
The stages have been good, very fast, tiring because of the heat. Besides that, I think they're good stages. We want a top 5. We really want a top 5, and we're pushing for it.
Stage 6 was to be the fastest stage of the event. There had been concern that the average speed could exceed the 120 km/h safety limit set by the FIA. Ian Duncan went fastest. His average speed was 120.14 km/h over the 29-kilometer stage, which took him just 14 minutes to complete. He was 7 seconds faster than Mitchell. Mitchell was second fastest, doing an average of 119.18 km/h. From the onboard, you can get a feel for what it is like to sit at 180 km/h on a stage, both driver and navigator looking calm and relaxed. Alex Horsey was only 2 seconds slower than Mitchell as he opened up the Evo 10 on the long straights that characterize this stage. Hardeep Resi went 4th fastest, and in the process, he overhauled Isa Amwari to move up to 6th overall. Jassi Chathe was only a second slower, going 5th fastest. The Evo 10 sitting nicely on the road, the gearing of the cars determining the top speed, which was critical on this stage. Azar Mirza went quicker than Rajbir Rai on the stage and overhauled the Evo 10 to move into 4th overall. The pair was separated by 6 seconds. Rajbir Rai dropped 13 seconds and Mirza but stayed within his limits to keep the Evo 10 on the road. Jasmeet Chana was once again 8th fastest, enjoying a chance to open up the Evo 9 and see what its top speed could be. Issa Amwari lost ground on this stage and required 100% commitment, losing out to Resi and falling behind by 18 seconds to lose 6th overall. Frank Tundo was 10th fastest. His average speed was 110 kilometers per hour, which meant that over 29 kilometers, he was 1 minute and 20 seconds slower than Duncan. Farhaz Khan was 11th fastest and remained in the 12th overall. Incredibly, Chaga was 12th fastest in the Porsche, averaging 107 kilometers per hour in the rear-wheel drive car that was not nearly as stable on the road as the modern four-wheel drives. He was still holding on to 10th overall. Alistair Keith was 13th fastest as he fought his way back up the leaderboard, once again leading the class and slowly closing the gap to Chana. Jaswinder Chana was slower than Keith. The old Toyota was twitchy on the long straights and he still held a comfortable lead in the class. Hussein Malik was 3rd fastest but was steadily losing ground to Keith in the battle for 2nd in class. Naushad Kara made it into the top 15 in his Impreza, another driver making a rare appearance on the coast event. Rob Helia was 2nd fastest in the classics, the Malindi driver enjoying the chance to rally close to home. Hardev Sira got the better of Aslam Khan once again, the escort sitting on the rev limit on the long straights and couldn't possibly have gone faster. Aslam Khan had had some rehydrants and was feeling better. He was 2 seconds slower than Sira as the two enjoyed a final battle for the title. The crews will then head back to Malomani stage for the first of the repeat stages from the morning loop. Duncan continued to dominate with another fastest time, but it was Issa Mirza that shined the setting 2nd fastest time. As the crews arrived back in service, there was little change in the leaderboard. The most critical need was the drivers themselves. The high temperatures and humidity that are typical of the coast rally meant that rehydrating the drivers is as important as fueling the cars.
The heat now is becoming a major player out in the field. It's very hot. You're just dripping sweat all the way. So you lose a lot of concentration with that. The road is a good road, so it's smooth. So we're loving that. The last 2 stages went lovely. There's one stage you're just flat out in 5th gear, must be doing 220, 230, maybe even 240 with some cars. So yeah, lots of fun, lots of adrenaline.
Very nice stages, very hot though, so it's difficult maintaining concentration. But overall, a nice rally, very nice stages, not a lot of transport, so yeah. Yeah, impressive, very, very impressive. Very nice route, very nice. These are the type of routes we need in our events more. Smoother events.
Stage 9 took the crews on a repeat of Stage 5 around the Mwangea Hills. Having had a chance to do the section at speed and adjust their notes, the crews were expected to be faster. Duncan was once again untouchable as he flew through the stage to set the fastest time. He extended his lead to 31 seconds over Mitchell. Mitchell was 2nd fastest.